in Justin's eyes or PJ's eyes, he redeemed himself with that interview. It was terrible. It didn't do him any favors. As a matter of fact, somehow it made everything worse.
Now, one more bit of news, actually, and it comes courtesy of friend of the show, sort of best friends of the show, I guess, at this point, Maven Huffman. Now, if nothing else, it just keeps amusing me because I know I message his business partner. Obviously, you're in contact with Maven more than I am. You text him often. You, and occasionally me, we seem to turn up on Maven's videos recently almost as much as Maven does, which always makes me laugh. So that always tickles me. But this last one that he released on Friday, we're recording on Wednesday, so there'll be a new one by the time this show comes out. But so last Friday, I guess, when this show comes out, is regarding Justin Credible. And once again, to just very briefly discuss what the video's about, Justin Credible, PJ Polacco, doesn't have the greatest reputation within pro wrestling. There's been numerous allegations made against him. A lot regarding no-showing promoters, demanding money after the fact, that kind of thing, or he won't work or whatever it might be. But mostly also ripping off fans when he's claiming to sell merchandise or books or whatever it is, then taking the money and then not sending out the merch as promised. And Maven basically did a sit-down interview with him. And what do you want to go on first? Do you want the first thing is actually you on saying something about a match where he went into the crowd. Do you want to discuss that first?
Yeah, I saw it, and then Chris can play the clip. We're welcome to play it. Thank you very much, Maven and Zach, and you guys are always welcome, including Chris Van Vliet and any of our other podcasting brothers, to use our content. We appreciate it. But when I'm looking at the original video that it really popped up, to give a little bit of context and background, was from Pinfalls and Pixels, did like a multi-part kind of documentary type presentation talking about all these people and showing screenshots, showing videos, emails, messages, really having a lot of evidence throughout the past decade or more of PJ doing this. And they played a clip from one of our episodes where I talked about that it was complete BS, that PJ, first of all, showed up, couldn't even wait till after the show to do whatever extracurricular stuff he did. The night before, Sabu had passed out in the hotel room and been taken to the hospital. But before Sabu was taken to the hospital, PJ took a picture of Sabu slumped in a chair and posted it on social media. The next night, when PJ passed out in the locker room, Luke Hawks took a picture and uploaded it to social media. Just a little bit of a Easter egg, if you look back at that picture, I'm in the background warming up doing yoga. Not even realize PJ's like passed out. But then when I went out to try to sell some merchandise or whatever, PJ was going out during intermission and during some parts of the show asking the fans for gas money. And I said that was BS, that you did a disservice to the business, to the fans that paid money, and really the Extreme Reunion show, which was going to launch. There was all these different things. It wasn't just PJ, by the way. Across the board, it was a nightmare. It was like the old ECW, but all the worst ways, with everything going on and all the goofiness of everything. And we were looking at this going, we have 2,100 people in here, the gate, the merchandise, everything, it was packed, standing room only, and it was supposed to relaunch a wrestling promotion. But when we saw this, we're like, the fans automatically had 2 strikes against us and also had a bad taste in our mouth. And PJ had a lot to do with that. He's not the only one, so let's be fair. But it was a major story off of that. Now, the opening of this, which we can play it back and forth, Chris, the opening of this is the clip where I talked about that, a shorter version. PJ, did such a disservice to the business.
Oh, jeez.
Hold on. You saw Stevie and you said, "Oh, geez." Stevie's he's a friend. He's a friend.
He's a friend too.
Full disclosure, a good friend of mine.
He's a good friend. Well, he's a friend.
Okay, like Stevie and
I think he's got a bad idea of who I am. I think he bought into the ECW Justin Credible gimmick, and he said that to me once before.
Explain.
It's almost like a work,
right?
And that's just not.
And he actually went out into the crowd and asked the fans for money. And I had said that was BS.
I don't remember that at all, but like it almost like he took it more personal than I did.
Yeah.
I was going through. I have no excuses, and a lot of this was a snapshot of some bad moments in time on a 30-something year career.
Absolutely.
And I remember this now more because I didn't know this was what you were going to show me. But it's it was ugly. It was ugly, and I made my peace with the promoters and with people. And it's like, what else are you going to do? You're going to keep bringing it up?
And Maven right away, PJ reacts to it. Maven goes, "Oh, you're already reacting to this," and he's like, "Yeah." I don't know. PJ's kind of like, I wouldn't be comfortable either. But then Maven already told him we're going to discuss some tough stuff, which PJ was like, "Fine." And he goes, "I'm just telling you right now, Stevie's a friend." And he goes, "Oh, yeah." PJ goes, "Yeah, he's a friend." He goes, "He's a good friend." And this popped me so huge. You know where I'm going. He's about to say he's a good friend. He goes, he's a friend. He's already, I was like, yeah, you're laying in the boots to me. I love it. Because what he's doing throughout this entire thing, and we're going to break it down a little bit more. The entire thing is deflection, distraction. You bring up a good point about this, but did you know that Stevie bought my Just Incredible gimmick? What does it have to do with anything? Like, Maven's presenting what I said about that night, and PJ saying, "Oh, a completely different answer, by the way. Not, why is Stevie calling you out? What happened? What's the real story?" But what he said was, the first time that I really traveled with him, I said, "You know what, PJ?" I go, "Man, you're really a quiet, laid-back guy." And I was like, "That's awesome that you can convince me when I'm watching Just Incredible's promos, your facial expressions and everything." I'm like, this dude's a badass, and this dude's a pretty mean dude. How's that a negative? Like, he made it sound like I was believing the Just Incredible presentation as a character when I got to know PJ Polacco, the man at the time. I'm saying that's great. You made me just suspend disbelief when I watched your promos and matches. But what he said was, it's an ad hominem attack to say Stevie has no credibility because he's a mark. In other words, what does going out drunk or drugged up or high out into a crowd asking for gas money have to do with me believing your character? Do you see what I mean? The whole thing was deflection, distraction, a totally different answer to the actual question, and just saying whatever.
It's even worse than that because...
I was trying to be nice.
What was I going to get at there? No, well, it is worse than that because he's saying, well, him going out for gas money. I don't remember that, but apparently you do,
Stevie
and it meant more to you.
Stevie takes it way more personally than I do. Well, PJ, here's the...
You didn't remember it, apparently, because you were too
here's the
drunk
problem,
up.
PJ. It's your reputation. It's your career. It's your future earnings and bookings. You should take it more personally than I did. I took it personally because I saw a true opportunity for me and other guys and girls to perform, make money outside WWE, and have a new lease on life, and maybe have a full-time wrestling career once again. So you're damn right I take it personally. And so did Shane Douglas, Luke Hawx, and everybody else who wasn't out of their mind that night, which there was too many people all effed up. So it's not just you. But they didn't go out and ask the people for money. The people didn't see them drunk and high and desperate for money. And you still wanted to work. Or not work. I'm sorry, let me correct it. You did not want to work, but you still wanted to get paid. And you got mad at Shane Douglas and Steve O'Neill when they wouldn't pay you for not working.
There's more. Okay, there's something else that you brought up a while ago. We'll just do this very, very quickly, then we'll address the rest of the video. Originally, when we talked about Just Incredible, which is where that clip came from for... what's the original channel? Something in Pixels?
Pinfalls and Pixels.
Pinfalls and Pixels, excuse me. And
link for that will be in the description below as well.
Yeah. So that clip was taken from a clip probably, I think it was called Just Incredible Isn't Happy With Me. And it's regarding the YouTube channel that he had many years ago. And I remember being really excited about the concept for it because there's so many more, well, not so many more, but you, Maven, a couple of other people who actually make these wrestling shows more than just a Zoom recording, basically, and put the effort in. And Just Incredible was one of the first people to do it with Pro Wrestling 101, I think it was called. And then he just stopped doing it. And I don't know if he got bored or got distracted or anything like that. But essentially, he then said many years later, when you did the analytics channel, you stole his idea. Despite the fact that, one, Just Incredible hadn't done anything for years regarding YouTube, pretty much, and two, the YouTube concepts of both channels were completely different.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And the thing with PJ, and by the way, PJ's still a friend. And the reason why he's still a friend, and it doesn't make sense from the things I just said to some people, is because I'm telling a truth. I'm doing what most people wouldn't do in PJ's life for however long. I'm not going to enable him. Maven didn't either. Maven, at the end of this video, and we'll talk about that, had to record a talking head shot updating everybody. I have to tell you about that Maven video. Maven, just a side note, Maven's growth, not as a YouTuber, but as a host of content, has grown so substantially, and I'm so proud. He can have a different look. It's not just, hey guys, Maven here, I'm going to tell you how to cut yourself with a razor blade or whatever. Now it's literally these organic type. Dude, it reminded me of To Catch a Predator. That whole video reminded me, and then the Fallout video, Maven commentating on it. But
there's one problem. There's one problem though. There's one problem with it, is that maybe that was by design. So Maven, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. He didn't confront him initially with something that was obviously a lie, or something that
he didn't push back as much as probably people would want him to.
Exactly.
But I believe in the beginning, Maven was letting PJ, whether for good or bad reasons for PJ, just let him talk and answer and go unanswered, because he knew they would get answered in the comments. However, I had a conversation with Maven, and he had said, watch all the way to the end because I'm on camera and I don't want it to seem jarring, or I didn't know the exact adjective, but watch and tell me. And I said, dude, that was absolutely the best thing you could have done, because you sat there and watched him answer and you didn't push back. You brought it all the way back around with an update and said, apparently hasn't changed. He's no showing. He's begging for money. And Maven understands second chances. He can say it better than me. So please watch the video all the way through to the end. But Maven, with his past, with getting arrested, with the drug use and hitting rock bottom, Maven believes in second chances. But he said the thing that really, I say God helps those that help themselves. Maven said basically, I believe in second chances, but the ball is in your court, PJ. It's up to PJ. Mm-hmm. We can talk, Maven can talk, DDP can have him doing yoga until the end of time. It's not going to help unless PJ is sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it might be too late, man. I don't want to say that, but at this point, you're doing interviews and you're looking for somebody to just enable you and say you're right, which Maven did not push back. In Justin's eyes, or PJ's eyes, he redeemed himself with that interview. It was terrible. It didn't do him any favors. As a matter of fact, somehow it made everything worse.
I don't want to say, as someone who has been a professional interviewer for quite a number of years, what I said about Maven was not a criticism per se, because there's two different ways you can go about an interview. You can either push back and then you risk getting the interview cut short very, very quickly. Or you can basically, the person almost interviews themselves. It's almost like a police interrogation.
He gave him enough rope to hang himself with the interview.
Exactly, and that's basically what's happened here, because it's almost like a police interrogation. We don't have interrogations here, we have police interviews, by the way. But like a police interview where the interviewer wants to say as little as possible. If you can get the person talking, let them keep talking. Sooner or later, they will slip. And in Justin's case, very soon indeed, because we get to what I just find absolutely abhorrent. to the point that he should be absolutely arrested for this, is that he has admitted on camera, and it's got over 400,000 people, whatever views it is, as we record this, that he has stolen money from people for merchandise that's never going to make their way to the person who's paid him in good faith. And his excuse was, I don't have the quote right in front of me, but it's essentially, well, by the time I got the money, well, my family had to eat. I was like, excuse me, forget your family. No, what you've done is you have accepted a contract that you need to fulfill by paying. Sorry, by giving the service or product.
Goods or services that you got paid to deliver.
Exactly. It's like, no. You don't just take people's money and then buy it for food, which actually we probably know what the money went to, and it probably wasn't food. I mean, it probably was as well. But, it's just an absolute disgrace. And he's been doing it for years now. And people want to give him a second chance and pay him money, and eventually nothing ever comes because it's just free money to him, and he justifies it to himself. In his own brain, he thinks, well, I needed the money more than you needed the money. That's basically what he's saying.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is an epidemic or a pandemic amongst all wrestlers, especially for my generation. Wrestling, this is the part of wrestling that, thank God, nothing came easy for me, because you know what pro wrestling trains you to do? To be as lazy as possible and earn the most amount of money. You've dealt with this with people in the sphere of just these wrestling shows and podcasts. Here's the problem. Most of the guys and girls, and we're going to leave out, I'm talking about my generation. It might be before me or after me as well. Let us know in the comments. But basically, what happens is there's this weird kind of shift. In other words, what PJ did, and this is my interpretation, and he was so close to calling fans marks during this a few times, because that's the, how should I say, that's the way to discredit a human being that's a wrestling fan that pays you for something, because you
serves you right.
Serves you, you're a mark. It's your fault. Hey, I'm a scorpion. I told you I was a scorpion, right? That old story with the scorpion and the frog. Mm-hmm. But with PJ, the direct quote of, well, after I had to buy food, there was no money to ship it out. It's just like, okay. But here's the problem I have with pro wrestling, and we're talking about cameos earlier. The problem I have with a lot of pro wrestlers, and probably the reason a lot of them have a problem with me, is because I value when somebody gives me money, and I try to turn around that product as soon as possible. It's very simple, just like getting booked. This is the same vein. When you get booked, you show up unable to perform, and you can't perform, but you stick your hand out for money. What part of this don't you get? It's an exchange. So in other words, I get so mad at wrestlers that act like this is a job and not a gift. In other words, cameos, signed t-shirts, signed merchandise, all these different things, whatever it is, cameo, anything is a gift of money, especially in this economy in 2025. I'm like, when I get a Patreon supporter, even for $1, I'm like, my God, how can I bring value? How can we bring value to that person? Because $1 is hard to come by for a lot of people, and $1 can go to other things. So when they choose to spend $1 or however much on anything, I honor that and try to give them the maximum amount of value. Even free here on YouTube, we get AdSense. So if we can get these people to enjoy and value the content, it converts monetarily. What I hate is when these wrestlers, some switch flips in their brain where they're like, well, it's an honor for you to give me money. Yeah, I'm letting you pay me. And if I give you something back, that's just a bonus. But I deserve the money, but you might not get the thing. So for lack of a better way of putting it, it pisses me off how these wrestlers piss away every opportunity to make money. And guess what? People are still trying to book PJ in 2025. That's on the level of sickness. Are you just wondering, well, if he comes in, I'll have a story for my promotion. So nobody's innocent in this, because you continue to enable this guy, and nothing I want more in this frame that we're talking about this than for PJ to prove me wrong, get in the best shape, get clean, outdraw me on YouTube, bring back Pro Wrestling 101, have 10 times the views and money that we make here, and show me, make me see. Get your revenge on me, PJ. Get clean and say Stevie Richards is a blowhard, and I'm going to show him because I'm going to make enough money to buy a house and take care of my wife and kids and say F you to that guy. Come on. That's a challenge.